Hey everybody, this is Vince Miller. Thank you so much for joining me for our devotional. Today we're in Job chapter 32, verses 2 through 5. Listen to these words. Then Elihu, the son of Barachel the Buzite of the family of Ram, burned with anger. He burned with anger at Job because he justified himself rather than God. And he burned with anger also at Job's three friends because they had found no answer, although they declared Job to be in the wrong. Now Elihu had waited to speak to Job because they were older than he. And when Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these three men, he burned with anger. So, as we come to the end of the story, we discover that someone else is present. There was this younger guy who was listening in the entire time. His name is Elihu. And we see that he's brewing to speak. And he's pretty angry about a couple of things. First, that Job has justified his righteousness to these three men. And while Job was right, he had done nothing wrong to deserve the suffering, Elihu determines that Job's response was a little overly focused on his righteousness instead of God's righteousness. Second, he's pretty angry at these three friends. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar have essentially come up with no answer. And in the end, both parties have slightly elevated themselves. And Elihu's anger is justified. And actually, the assessment we're going to see is spot on. What I love here is that Elihu is respectful in how he handles himself, even in his anger. The text says that he waited to speak to Job because they were older than he. Now, for some reason, it appears that we have lost touch with this kind of respect in our culture today. But this is more than just patriarchal respect for elders. This is respect combined with extraordinary restraint when an injustice has been done to the sovereignty of God. You see, Elihu has just listened to four men bloviate on their views about God, about suffering, sin, retribution, righteousness, unrighteousness, punishment, blessing, and even repentance. And I'm sure the whole time, Elihu's been slowly boiling. And as he listens, he might even hope that they would come to some godly conclusion on this matter. But they drift from a conclusion to absolutely no conclusion. And after they're finally silent and have run out of things to say, then Elihu speaks. And in the verses that follow, we're going to hear some very, very good insights from a fired up young man who is deeply passionate about a very high view of God. And the best part is this: we're going to learn all of them from a younger man. But I think one line that Elihu speaks really helps us to listen to him. It's this. It says, Elihu waited to speak to Job because they were older than he. And I think that one piece of restraint here by Elihu makes everything that he's about to say easier to hear. So are you fired up about an injustice to God? Because I got to tell you, there's a lot to be fired up about today. If so, be respectful, have restraint, and speak up when the time is right. And God may use you to say something remarkable. Thanks for joining me today. Share this with someone you know, and I'll see you right back here again tomorrow.